Hey guys, this is Quinn, and welcome back to QuinTech. And in this episode, I'm going to be exploring my Sega Saturn again. And I did go out and buy the Action Replay Plus cartridge for my Sega Saturn. And I thought it was might cost around $60, and I found one for about $40, which looked exactly like my original one. But now there's this other one that's kind of a knockoff, but it still works. And this is what it looks like. The Action Replay Plus 4 meg auto, suitable for the Sega Saturn. And the cartridge looks a little different. So it doesn't have that old Action Replay Plus label, but it has the same functionality. So it has, it's four, actually has technically 5 functions, but they call it the Action Replay Plus 4. So we'll already have the mod chip inside the console, which allows me to play burn games. But without this cart, I could only play US release burn games because I have a US released Sega Saturn console. So this allows you to play foreign games, mostly would be Japanese games, but I can also play, I guess, PAL region European games. It also gives me the 4 megabyte backup ability, which this is how it might be 5, because there was the 1 megabyte backup officially released by Sega, and then there was the 4 megabyte backup, which is just backing up your save games, because you have this little cell battery that stores your games, and you have a small amount of memory on the console to store your game saves. Well, this allows you to copy those save games over to here, so you can store them in with the cell battery. It's volatile memory, which means if the battery dies, you lose all your saves. This is involatile memory. I forget what it's called. It's not called involatile, but there's another word for it. But anyway, you can copy all your saves over to here, and you have them saved on here, no matter whether your battery dies or not. And then it also gives you the 4 megabyte increased memory for gameplay, which certain games require. A lot of the fighting games require them. A lot of the 2D fighters require them. Require the extra 4 megabytes of play memory. And then the fourth, or actually fifth, function it gives you is it becomes an action replay, which is like a cheat device. So I've spent a lot of time ever since I got this. I got this about 2 to 3 weeks ago. And every new game I've downloaded onto every ISO, or they actually, the format they use is called BenQ, but it's a burned CD that you can load up on this actual Sega Saturn console, but you need this to be able to load it if it is a foreign game. So if it's a foreign game, I was able to play domestic games with just the mod chip that I already have installed. But if I want to play a foreign game, I need this. So I can play foreign games and I have the extra 4 megs of play memory. I have 4 megs of save memory, and like I got this for like around $35. I could have spent an extra $5 and got the one that was practically identical to the one I used to own, except the one I had like a parallel port on the top. The one I would have gotten would have been just like this, just smooth on top. So, but I saved $5 and got this one, and it works just the same. So, and just the label's a little different, but all the inner workings are the same. When I load up the menu, the menu looks the same, and you're going to see this menu for a long time on this video because this is how I do this. So this video is about the Sega Saturn, and I am showing off Lunar, the Silver Star story, and it might have even been called Complete on the Sega Saturn, but then they ported it to the Sega, not the Sega, the Sony PlayStation, and that version was brought over to the United States, ported by Working Designs, who are this local, as in here in the United States, not local to where I am personally, but this local company that they would take a bunch of Japanese games that they thought that Americans could really enjoy, and they translated them into English and brought them over to the United States. But some of them, they had to change a little bit. There is this, like I say, there's this big scene of porters of game translation and all this other stuff nowadays that wasn't around back then, because the technology, like they would have had to like release it officially. Now they have all these kind of fan ports, fan translations, and this is one of them that I'm showing off in this video. It is a fan translation of Lunar, the Silver Star Story Complete, which apparently was originally released on the Sega Saturn only in Japan, and then this American company, Working Designs, decided to port it to English and release it on the Sony PlayStation. So what this is, it takes the Sega Saturn version and it does a fan translation, which is basically all the audio is still in Japanese, but it has these subtitles at the bottom. It has subtitles at the bottom that translate all the Japanese talking into English. Well, they're also working on a dub, which takes all the English dubbing from the Lunar Working Designs PlayStation game, and I guess it rips all the dubbing, the audio from the Americanized version, and then they replace all the Japanese language talking in the Saturn version with the Americanized English language from the PlayStation version. And I'm not exactly sure how this works because this is only one disc, and the Sony PlayStation was a 2-disc set. Well, it was actually a 4-disc set, but 2 play discs, and then the third was a making of, and the fourth was a CD soundtrack. So it's basically a 2-disc game, and somehow it's only on 1 disc on the Saturn, which is an older, slightly weaker system, So we think, but apparently they're doing this. But what happened was, um, I was able to download the English translation subtitle version. So all the audio is still in Japanese, but it has little English subtitles that go across the bottom. But they're working on a dub version where apparently they're going to rip all the dubbing, the talking parts, the audio, the voice parts from the American version, and they're going to replace the Japanese talking on the Saturn version with all the American talking from the PlayStation version. And I did find one. It's kind of hard to find this stuff. It's a little tricky online. But I did find what was supposed to be the dub version, or at least the beta dub version of the Saturn. And I downloaded the ISO, and I said it didn't work in the previous, but I didn't make it very clear. I couldn't even burn it. When I tried to burn it, it failed. So I couldn't even get a CD to even test on the Saturn. So it said the way you're supposed to do it, you're supposed to download this certain version of the Saturn RIP, and that website went down. That website went down about a year ago. So you can't get that original RIP unless I can find it on some alternate website. And then you have to take the, what do they call it? It's like a hack. You have to download the original ISO and then get this little hack file and use a special software that hacks it. I guess it kicks out all the Japanese language and puts in all the English language. Well, I couldn't find the hacked or the special Japanese RIP to even attempt that. And I could go a little bit deeper. I didn't try that hard. But anyway, that's what this video is about. I am showing off Lunar, the Silver Star story, complete on the Sega Saturn. Hey guys, this is Quinn from Quintech Retro, and in this video I'm exploring apparently Lunar, the Silver Star story complete on the PlayStation started out as a Sega Saturn game, and I wasn't really aware of that until recently. And this was a Japanese only release, but there's a project that's actually currently going on to translate the PlayStation version to the Saturn version. So they've already gotten as far as translating all the text. They're still working on, they're trying to translate the dubbing, the voice acting over to the Sega Saturn. I did download a copy that said it was the dub version for Sega Saturn, but it didn't work right. So I think this is as far as they've gotten so far, but there is a scene out there. There is a retro scene out there that are very dedicated to bringing things to systems that you never would have gotten back in the day, all the game studios back in the day, they never would have taken this much time. This is a labor of love. These are people who really like these old systems, even though we got all this new stuff now. Hell, they just came out with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox. What is it called? The One X? That might have been the last one. Whatever, the new Xbox system. And that's all this fancy schmancy, like, super realistic graphics and all this. I prefer these older games. They're like, uh, just some pixels on the screen and like some platformers, and that's more my speed. Even in the 32-bit era, they got a little bit too fancy with the games. They tried to be ultra realistic, make it look like, oh, you're really there. That's not what a game is about. A game should be, you should have to use your imagination to play a game. You should be able to think about, oh, this is a representation of what real life would be. But nowadays, they're trying to make every game super ultra realistic and look like real life and like you're really there. And I think that kind of ruins the game. That's just my opinion. Some people might really love these games. Not some people. A lot of people do really love these kind of games that it's like you're really there and it's ultra realistic graphics and it's all the characters look like real people and all this and that and the other. I prefer these older games like the platformers of days gone by. And I'm not even a huge Sonic fan, but Sonic is a good thing to mention to let you know what I'm talking about. Sonic was a 2D platformer. 2D. When everything went to 3D, it kind of ruined everything. Not every 3D game is terrible, but I prefer 2D games like your NES, your Sega Master System, and even early your Sega Genesis and your 32X and your Sega CD. Like at the end of the Sega CD era, that's when things started to like ramp up to all this. Everything had to be 3D, and then you had the Sega Saturn, you had the Nintendo 64, you had the PlayStation. Everything was 3D. It had to be 3D, 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 3D. I like 2D. That's just me. Some people love 3D. And now it's up to the PlayStation 5 now. I prefer PlayStation 1. That's just me. I never really had a PlayStation 2, 3, or 4, so maybe I just don't. But I didn't want one. My newest system for years and years and years and years was the Dreamcast, which was right when that 3D stuff started to ramp up. And the only reason I have an Xbox 360 is because one was given to me, and then later I found one down at the next to the trash dumpster. Someone had thrown it away, and it was the Modern Warfare 3 skinny, the special edition. Uh, and it was just thrown away. I maybe these people were evicted and they had a newer system. They had a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox One X or whatever it's called now. I don't know. Their naming system is weird. And they're like, oh, well, that old thing, we can just leave it behind. I just need my new stuff. But that's my newest console, is an Xbox 360. So, anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I was about to play a game. I don't even remember what it was. Oh, yeah, Lunar. Lunar the Silver Star came out on the Sega CD. And then they made an updated version of it, Lunar the Silver Star Story. Well, I never knew this back in the day. Apparently, it first came out on the Sega Saturn. So, when I first discovered it, and I had a previous video about it, it was on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, PlayStation 1, or whatever you want to call it. Um, and I love that game. But now, recently, it's still in development. People in the gaming community are working on this translation of the Sega Saturn version. And the Sega Saturn version apparently is the same game that was released on the original PlayStation. And I never knew it was on there until just recently. I've had this system since 97, came out in 95. I got a mod chip back in like 2001 or 2002, maybe 2003 at the very latest, but I think it was around 2001, 2002. Had a mod chip for it so I could download games and burn them. And I played a bunch of games for the system. I never knew that Lunar, well, the original was Lunar the Silver Star. Lunar the Silver Star Story was the one that I showed off in a previous video on the PlayStation. The updated version of Lunar, I never knew was on the Saturn until just recently. And then I came across a feed that was talking about, oh, the Saturn translation, the English translation. So it was only released in Japan when the system first came out. But now, almost 30 years later, when was this? 1999, 2009, 20, almost 22 years later, they're working on a fan translation. And they've already come out with the one that has, they have the subtitles down below translating what the characters are saying. But now they're working on a version that takes the Working Designs dub. They're calling it the dub version. They're putting the English language voices from the Working Designs game. They're putting them into the Sega Saturn version. So I guess in the future you could go buy a Sony PlayStation and get Lunar the Silver Star Story complete, which I own, which I showed off in a previous video. But if you didn't have that one, if you just had the Sega Saturn, you could get a Sega Saturn and download this fan translation dub, which like I say, I did try to download it and I tried to burn it and it didn't work. I think it's like an early version of the dub version. But anyway, I hope you enjoy this video and thanks for coming back to Quintech Retro. I've been holding this DVD for a while, and what this is I was like, the Xbox 360, they have like 1,000 versions of this Call of Duty. How many versions of Call of Duty do you actually need? Call of Duty. I don't even know how to Call of Doody. Call of Duty. Anyway, I haven't really, and a lot of people are like proficient at this, but it's got the 2 analog sticks, and you can play first-person shooters with these analog sticks. My preference is like the PC way to do it, with on the keyboard to move around, and then you use your mouse to look around. Apparently, on these ones, you use one thumbstick to move around and use the second thumbstick to aim and figure out how to sight in, how to shoot. Anyway, I'm not that good at that. I just maybe my age. I'm an older person. Younger people, they grew up with these things. They know how to do it. I mean, it didn't even start really until the Nintendo 64, when that was the first like really popular analog stick where people started using that, and it was in the center. And then you on this side, especially with was GoldenEye, that was like one of the first games where because a lot of the earlier games you just used your standard D-pad on this side. But when GoldenEye came out, that's like when everybody learned how to use that analog stick, and it's very precise. You can. I'm not that good at it. I prefer a D-pad or an old joystick or something that has like micro switches with an 8-way. That's what I like. But that's just me. I'm not down on anybody. You can like what you like. You can play what you like to play. I'm just telling you what I like. I like the old school, 2D D-pad, maybe at the most a micro switch little joystick. The analog, when it went to analog, that kind of ruined it for me. Everything went 3D. The analog stick was 3D. The screen was 3D. Everything was 3D. I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, but it's just not my thing. Alright, well, thanks for coming along with me on my latest episode of Quintech Retro. And I hope you come back for my next episode. And you guys have a great night. And I hope you like this. And I was just trying to show off that this game, Lunar, the Silver Star, I never realized was originally released on the Sega Saturn, and then they made this the deluxe version for the Sony PlayStation. And I've owned the Sony PlayStation version for years and years and years and never knew about this. So it was kind of a surprise to me. So I didn't get to finish my thoughts last time. I was talking about Lunar, the Silver Star story. Yeah, not complete. Complete was the PlayStation version. This was the Sega Saturn version. So I never showed it off. So I was about to show it off and then I forgot. So I hope you like this video. It's the same, basically the same opening little video that you saw in the PlayStation version, but this is in Japanese. But it's the same song, it's the same music, but the lyrics are in Japanese. So I hope you enjoy it. Game Arts. JVM. I hope you like it. Cutscene or the pre-rendered video looks, at least on the CRT, looks amazing. I hope it looks just as good on my render. And it's got the same cadence as I just changed the lyrics for the American version for the working designs release. Apparently they're working on recording doing the dub. They're recording the dub over to the Saturn from the Sony PlayStation version. Like I said, I never realized that this game was originally released on the Saturn. And then they released it here in the United States on the PlayStation. They, I guess, took the Saturn version and translated it and dubbed it and made it into more of an Americanized version. But it was originally released on the Sega Saturn, so this is the Sega Saturn version. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for coming along. Alright. Take care. Hi. So I had to come back. I forgot to record the beginning of the gameplay, and that might make this video a little bit more interesting than just me blabbering on and on and on and on and repeating myself and making a bunch of comments and saying the same thing over and over again in a little bit different way. So I'm at least gonna start the game and show off the subtitles because I've talked about them enough, but you didn't get to see them, so now I'm gonna show them off. Alright, so here we are in the options screen, or the main select screen. So let me just see what kind of options we have. We can do, doesn't allow me to select the sound stereo to or mono. I guess it just, sort gear or item. Well, I don't have a save game on here, so message advance, auto or manual. I like manual. Message speed. Let's do fast, because that takes a long time. Alright, so let's start a new game. So I want you to see how this subtitle thing works. Everything's gonna be in Japanese language, but... いつの頃からだろう。冒険の旅という言葉が僕を捉えて話さなくなったのは。アルテナの女神様を守って戦った英雄、ドラゴンマスターダイ。あの人もこんな風に遠い世界を夢見て旅立ったんだろうか。そしていつか僕も行くのだろうか。あの雲の流れる果てを目指して僕自身の冒険の旅へと。Okay. thought it worked last time I played it, but I didn't change any options last time. So maybe when he changed the options,
Yeah,
I did the fast. Let me just reset this and see if I go back to the original settings, if it fixes it. I hope so. There's no subtitles. What the heck is going on here? It's annoying. I swear the last time I played this, it had subtitles.
あの人もこんな風に遠い世界を夢見て旅立ったんだろうか。そして
Maybe it just changes the language
僕
and
も
the
行くの
menus
だろ
to
うか。
English.
あの雲の流れ
I
る
could
果
have
てを
swore
目
it
指
had
して
subtitles.
僕自身の冒険の旅へ
So
と。
maybe I have to get to the actual gameplay, and then you can see that it's in English. I don't know. Now I'm a little flabbergasted. I'm a little flabbergasted.
なる。
やーじゃないっての。たくも。俺ら
All
あ
this is
ち
in
こち探したん
Japanese.
だぞ。
There's no
やっぱり
subtitles.
ここだったんだな。
That's just like the fan sub
ご
or
めん
the
ごめん。
fan translation. Maybe they just translated the options.
我らが
Maybe
英雄
my
ドラ
memory
ゴンマ
isn't
スター
as
第
good
二
as
の
I thought.
活躍をたたえ
Maybe
るか。
it's not
本
translated.
当にあれ知ったらこ
Maybe
のおっ
it's
ちゃんの
just
ことが好きなんだ
the
な。
menus.
ま、冒険の旅に出るのがアレ
Gameplay
スの夢
menus
だ
are
ってのは知って
translated,
る
so I
け
guess
ど
I
さ。
have to get to
こ
the
んな
actual
古ぼけた塚を毎日
game
眺めててよく飽き
to
ない
show
な。
that. Well, unfortunately, you can't skip any of this stuff, so I might skip it in this video until I get there, because you're not seeing any subtitles. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Okay, now you see the English subtitles, and this looks almost exactly like the PlayStation version. And this would probably be in Japanese if I wasn't using this translation. Yeah, this looks like exactly the same translation that I showed in the PlayStation video.
Yares, ここにいたのか。びっくりす
I
るな
thought there
よ。
would be
あ
subtitles
の
below
氷に
this
閉ざさ
guy,
れてた白
but
竜の洞
I
窟に
guess
入れるようになったみ
that's
たいな
not
ん
part
だ。
of it.
きっとこの異常な暖かさのせいでな。
So I was
な
totally
あ、すっ
mistaken
ごいだ
in
ろ
what I was
う。
telling
ドラ
you
ゴンマスターの
before.
おとぎ話に出てくる竜のダイヤ。
And
こいつを手に入れ
apparently
ることができるかもし
it's
れない
just
ぜ。
the little text. It's not translated, but the text is changed from Japanese to English. And again, this looks just like the PlayStation version. But this will allow you to play the game. You may just not understand the entire story. This will allow you to play the game in English if you don't understand Japanese, which I don't. Let me go to my parents' house. Let's see what happens. Because I remember this first house was my parents' house. So let's go talk to my dad. And look, yeah, the menu items are in English. Maybe I need to get the Japanese version to show the difference, because this doesn't seem to be a very good representation of what I was trying to show. So yeah, I'll be back in a minute. I'll get the Japanese version of the game, and then I'll show that everything is in kanji and you can't even read it. And here you can actually read the menus and play the game, and the dialogue that has subtitles will be in Japanese kanji. So maybe that's what's. Maybe it was just a kind of simple fix of the text. They changed it from Japanese text to English text. They didn't add subtitles to the bottom. That's what I thought happened here. And I guess I was completely wrong. So I'll be back in a minute, and I will have a comparison. I'll have a comparison so you can see the difference. Alright. Well, I'll be right back. So I guess I was wrong about this. It is just translated. The text is translated, but it's not subtitled. And this is the little side-by-side video. I was kind of obsessing about it. It's been 2 weeks. It's taken a long time to prepare this video, and it's not perfect. I wanted like that little black line in between the two screens it's a little kind of annoys me, and it's a little offset, but it's as good as I could do, and I'm satisfied. But basically what I was trying to show was that yeah, I guess it's not a subtitle, it's not a fan sub, and it's not a fan dub, it's a fan translation, and basically any of the text that's on the screen is translated from Japanese kanji to English. And then also coming up here in a minute, you'll see the menus. The menus are also in English instead of in Japanese kanji. So you can actually play the game here in the United States, whereas you would not be able to. Well, you could still play it, but you wouldn't understand it if it was in Japanese. So we're about to get there. I'm going in to see Mom and Dad here in Mom and Dad's little house, and now I'm talking to Dad. And there we go. That's the difference. On the left is the English translation of the menus, and on the right is the Japanese original version. So if we were playing the Japanese version, maybe we would understand what those little icons were, but we couldn't read any of the text. So that's all I was trying to show in this video, and thank you for coming along with me on Quintech Retro, and I appreciate you, and thanks for coming back to this latest video. And I'm sorry it took me so long to get this one out. I was dealing with a lot of technical issues, trying to figure out how to do the split screen and other things, and playing the game, and then I had to go and find the Japanese version. It was harder to find than I expected. I had to get I couldn't find it on the website. I had to go and find a torrent, find a BitTorrent that actually supposedly has every single game, but I only got this particular one.